Baktha Chokamela. Long ago in the holy Kshetra of Pandharpur, in present-day Maharashtra, there lived a great devotee of Lord Pandurenga, who was none other than Lord Sri Krishna himself, by the name Chokamela. Chokamela hailed from a slum and was a customary those days. The inhabitants were not permitted to enter the temple. Though Lord Panduranga saw no difference between his devotees based on birth, color, race, wealth, region, religion, the selfish world did. To the Lord, the only thing that mattered was the depth of the one devotion. The friends, relatives, and neighbors of Chokamela led lives without any values, orderliness, or sense of direction. They ate whatever they wanted, slept wherever they wished, and were addicted to all sorts of bad habits such as alcoholism. Like a beautiful lotus that blooms in the stinking marsh, Chokamela, though, led the life of a pure Vaishnava. He would wake early in the morning, have a bath, wear tulsi mala and gopi chandan, and chant the divine names of the Lord. As he was not permitted to enter the temple of Lord Sri Panduranga, he stood near the compound wall and sang the divine names joyfully. Constantly he advised his kith and kin to mend their ways and about how it was very easy to win the grace of God by simply chanting his divine names. Though they all mocked at him in the beginning, gradually his purity and goodwill won their hearts, and they gave all their vices. Following his example, all of them woke up early in the morning and accompanied him to the temple, where they all stood outside the compound wall, chanting the Lord's glorious names. Lord Panduranga himself relished every nama they chanted, much more than the puja offered by the priests. Like Nandanar, the great devotee of Lord Sri Shiva, Chokamela too had transformed the entire slum. They were all a group of pure-hearted Bhagavadas now. Naturally, this was not liked by the priests of the temple, though Chokamela and his group did not in any way interfere with the temple proceedings. The priests hurled abuses at them and told them that they had no right to worship to God, as is the nature of any sadhu. Chokamela too did not want to argue with the priests or fight with them. He thought that if this was the way Panduranga wanted, he would stay at home and worship the Lord. Now let us see who is Chokamela. Chokamela was a saint in Maharashtra. In the 14th century, he belonged to Mahar caste, one of the untouchable castes in India. He was born at Mehuna Raja, a village in Nilganj Raja, Taluka of Bultana district. He lived at Mangalveda in Maharashtra. He wrote many abhangas. He was one of the first low caste poets in India. Chokamela lived with his wife Soria, Soyarabai and son Karmamela in Mangalveda. Chokamela's task was to guard and work in farms of upper caste people. As a lower caste person, Choka was forced to live outside the town in a separate settlement for members of the low caste. He was initiated into bhakti spiritually by the poet Saint Namadev 1270 to 1350. Once when he visited Pandharpur, he listened to Saint Namadev's kirtan. Already a devotee of Vittal alias Vitoba, Choka was moved by Namadev's teachings. This is about Chokamela. Now let's go to the story. However, he was not allowed to enter the temple. One day, someone questioned the futility of his devotion to Lord, as he would never be able to see the God. Humiliated and deeply hurt, Choka abstained from taking food and wept inconsolably. When Panduranga appeared before him, embarrassed him, took him inside the temple and talked to him. The temple priests were outraged as he felt that the temple was discredited by Choka and ordered him to stay across the river Chandrabhaga. Choka's pleas fell on the deaf ears, and at last Choka went to stay across the river. One day, Chokamela was having his food under a tree before his house. His wife was serving him. Panduranga, unable to bear his separation from his devotee, came in search of him. He wanted to join him in dinner. The couple were more than delighted, did puja to his feet, and started serving him. Saira, in her excitement, happened to spill curds over God's dress. Chokamela, unable to control his anger, shouted at his wife, "How dare you do that? Can't you see properly?" Just then the temple priest happened to pass that way and mistook those words. Since he couldn't see the Lord, he thought they were aimed at him. In a fit of anger, he gave a big slap on his face, had a bath in the river for having touched him, and came to the temple. In the meanwhile, God disappeared from Chokamela's house. "Oh my God!" The priest was wonderstruck when he opened the temple door. Tears rolled down Lord Panduranga's cheek, and one cheek turned red and swollen. You should look at the priest. His throat became dry. He missed a heartbeat. He could hardly stand. He could see his mistake reflected on the Lord's face. He rushed to the senior Brahmins and explained the situation. What the Brahmin realized for himself was true. They could guess that God was grieved at the fate of his devotee. The only solution was to apologize to Chokamela. Without any second thoughts, the priest hastened to Chokamela and prostrated before him. The latter was shocked at his action. The priest explained the situation and, holding his hand in his hand, brought Chokamela to the divine presence. There was not a bit of exaggeration in the scene described. Chokamela was moved to tears to see his beloved God in sorrow. He pleaded, "Oh God, forgive us as a mother forgives her children. Whatever has happened unwittingly. We can't bear to see you in such a pitiable state. Please shower your blessings on us with your ever-pleasing smile." God, who can't say no to his devotees, looked the normal smiling self again. How great are the powers of God! Sri Namadev has won the name of the chief devotees of Panduranga. One day, while he was singing in the temple, he was shocked to see the Lord weeping. When asked for the reason, God answered, "O Namadev, there is a staunch devotee of mine by the name Chokamela. He chants my name incessantly, leading a life of equanimity and sacrifice. He met with a tragic end. As he was working with some laborers, a brick wall fell over them and all of them died." Namadev was touched with this story and said, "O God, you ever loved to your devotees. You bless him by helping his Jivatma join you Paramatma. Why then should you feel sorry for him?" The Lord answered, "No, Namadev, he had one dying wish. I can't be happy if his desire is not fulfilled. I entrust you to fulfill it. Order me, my Lord. I am at your service. There is no difference between you and your devotees, so I deem it a great pleasure to play my part." God was pleased at his readiness and said, "O Namadev, Chokamela had a strong desire. He wanted his dead body to be buried before my temple, but he met with an accidental death, and all the dead bodies were given a mass burial. Now, you search for his bones and get them here and bury them before my temple." Namadev was more than willing, but he raised a genuine doubt. "How do I differentiate his bones from the rest?" God ruled it out as a strange fear. Chokamela was chanting my name even as he breathed his last. So, whichever bone gives you the name, as you keep it near your ear, the bone is Chokamela's. Accordingly, Namadev went and examined every bone. Lo, some bones let out the prayer, "Vittala, Vittala, Panduranga." Namadev was moved to tears. He carefully collected all his bones and buried them before the temple. Even today, the devotees of Panduranga stand before his cemetery and pray to him. Chokamela lived in the Samsara Sagara, but was not drowned in it. Just as the stones floated on the ocean due to the power of Ramanama, he floated on the ocean of life due to the power of Panduranga. He also proved devotion to God is not colored by caste, creed, or religion. A true devotee doesn't bother about mundane world or the behavior of society towards him. All that a devotee knows is undaunted faith in God.